Nando's turned a £2.50 chicken meal into a £17.95 bill and convinced an entire nation to queue for the privilege. For 30 years, British customers built this brand into a cult, and Nando's repaid that loyalty by raising prices 29% in 5 years, shrinking portions, and asking you to tip for a meal you collected yourself. This is the story of how Nando's went from the most exciting restaurant in Britain to one of the most cynical. In 1987, Robert Brozin and Fernando Duarte walked into a small Portuguese chicken restaurant in Rosettenville, Johannesburg. They ordered the peri-peri chicken. They liked it so much, they bought the entire business for the equivalent of £30,000. The restaurant was called Chickenland. They renamed it Nandos after Fernando, and the recipe they inherited from its Mozambican founders became the foundation of everything that followed. The peri-peri sauce was not their invention. It was not their heritage. It was a Mozambican and Portuguese tradition they acquired along with the lease and the kitchen equipment. That detail matters because the entire Nando's brand proposition, the authenticity, the African fire, the sense that you were eating something with genuine roots, was built on a recipe that the founders bought rather than created. It was always a story as much as it was a sauce. And stories, as Nando's would prove over the following 3 decades, can be worth considerably more than the food they are attached to. The UK arrived in 1992. The first British Nando's opened in Ealing, West London, and it landed at exactly the right moment. Britain in the early 1990s was ready for something that felt different. The high street was dominated by American burger chains and traditional British options that had not evolved in decades. Nando's offered flame-grilled chicken with a sauce that had genuine heat and complexity, a casual atmosphere that felt neither fast food nor formal, and a price point that sat comfortably between the two. Word spread without advertising. That is not a myth. Nando's genuinely did not run traditional advertising campaigns in its early British years. The growth was driven entirely by people telling other people, which created something that paid media cannot manufacture. It created the sense that Nando's was a discovery rather than a product, that you were in on something. That distinction between a brand you find and a brand that finds you is the foundation on which everything Nando's became was built. By the late 1990s, the expansion was accelerating. By the mid-2000s, Nando's had become embedded in British culture in a way that very few restaurant chains ever achieve. It crossed demographic lines. It crossed income lines. Students ate there. Footballers ate there. It became a cultural reference point, a shorthand for a certain kind of relaxed, unpretentious occasion. The loyalty card, the cheeky Nando's mythology, the sauce bottle hierarchy from lemon and herb to extra hot, all of it became part of a shared cultural language. Nando's did not just sell chicken, it sold membership of something. And for a long time, that membership felt genuinely earned because the food, the atmosphere, and the price were all aligned in a way that made the experience feel honest. The financial architecture behind the brand was always more complex than the casual atmosphere suggested. Nando's is privately owned by the Enthoven family of South Africa, which means it has never been subject to the public scrutiny that comes with stock market listing. Revenue figures are disclosed selectively. Profit margins are not broken down by market. What is known is that Nando's UK turnover exceeded £900 million in its most recently reported financial year, and that the business has been consistently profitable throughout its British operation. The private ownership structure is not incidental. It is the reason Nando's has been able to make pricing and operational decisions without the quarterly earnings pressure that publicly listed competitors face. Every price increase, every portion adjustment, every operational change has been a deliberate choice made by people who answer to a family rather than to a stock market. That context makes the decisions of the past 5 years harder to excuse, not easier. The price increases began in earnest around 2021 and have continued without interruption. A whole chicken that cost £11.95 in 2019 now costs £15.95. A half chicken with two sides moved from £13.95 to £17.95. A quarter chicken meal crossed the £14 mark. Each individual increase was presented as a response to supply chain pressures, energy costs, and ingredient inflation. Those pressures were real across the hospitality industry. But Nando's increases have consistently outpaced the actual cost increases their suppliers were experiencing. The chicken Nando's uses is not free-range as standard. It is standard commercial broiler chicken sourced through large-scale suppliers. The peri-peri sauce is produced industrially. The sides, the rice, the coleslaw, the corn are prepared centrally and finished in store. The food cost for a half chicken meal with two sides is estimated by industry insiders at between £2.50 and £3.50. You are paying £17.95 for that. The margin is not a function of ingredient quality. It is a function of brand equity being systematically converted into profit, one price increase at a time. The self-service model deserves its own examination because it is central to understanding what Nando's has become. When you eat at Nando's, you queue to be seated. You queue to order at the counter. You collect your own cutlery and sauces. You fetch your own drinks refills. You clear your own table at the end. The labor that a conventional restaurant employs waitstaff to perform is performed by the customer. That model was part of Nando's original charm. It felt relaxed and unpretentious. It felt like the restaurant trusted you to look after yourself. But that framing only holds when the price reflects the reduced service. At £17.95 for a half chicken meal, you are paying full-service restaurant prices for a self-service experience. And then, at the end of that self-service meal, the card reader presents you with a tip prompt. You are being asked to tip for service that was not provided. That is not an oversight in the payment system. It is a deliberate design choice that tells you everything you need to know about where Nando's priorities now sit. The portion reduction has been documented by customers consistently enough that it cannot be dismissed as perception. The chicken pieces are smaller. The side portions have reduced. The coleslaw container that was once generous is now modest. Nando's has not acknowledged any formal portion reduction, which is standard practice across the industry. You do not announce shrinkflation. You implement it gradually and rely on the fact that most customers will not measure their food before eating it. But enough people have noticed and enough people have said so publicly that the pattern is undeniable. You are paying more for less food prepared with cheaper ingredients in a restaurant where you do the work of the staff. That combination, higher price, smaller portion, lower service, is not a cost of living response. It is a margin expansion strategy. The brand response to customer criticism has followed a familiar corporate playbook. New menu items are introduced to generate press coverage and distract from the core value conversation. Limited edition sauces create artificial scarcity and social media engagement. The loyalty app is promoted as evidence that Nando's rewards its customers, while the rewards themselves have become progressively harder to earn and less valuable when redeemed. The marketing remains warm, irreverent, and culturally fluent. Nando's is still very good at seeming like it is on your side. The gap between the brand's tone and the brand's actual commercial behavior is one of the most sophisticated pieces of sustained misdirection in British retail food. It works because the brand was genuinely beloved, and people want to keep believing in things they once loved. If you are finding this investigation valuable and want to keep seeing the truth about the brand's British family's trust with their money, please subscribe to UK Food Exposed right now and hit the like button. It takes 2 seconds and it is what keeps this channel going, because this story is far from over. The cultural shift among Nando's core customers is now measurable. TripAdvisor reviews referencing value for money have declined sharply since 2021. Social media sentiment, which was overwhelmingly positive throughout the 2010s, has fractured significantly. The jokes about cheeky Nando's have been replaced by jokes about the bill. That shift in cultural tone is significant because Nando's was built on cultural currency rather than traditional advertising. When the cultural conversation turns, Nando's has no conventional marketing infrastructure to fall back on. The brand equity that took 30 years to build is the only thing standing between Nando's and a serious customer exodus. And that equity is being spent faster than it is being replenished, with no visible strategy to reverse the direction. The comparison with independent Portuguese and Mozambican chicken restaurants is one that more customers are beginning to make. In most British cities with a significant Portuguese community, there are independent restaurants serving peri-peri chicken that is genuinely made from scratch using real spice blends, with chicken sourced from higher welfare farms at prices that are comparable to or lower than Nando's. These restaurants do not have the brand recognition, the loyalty app, or the cultural mythology. What they have is better food at fairer prices made by people who actually understand the cuisine Nando's built its entire identity around. The irony is that as Nando's has moved further from the authentic peri-peri tradition it borrowed, the independent restaurants that kept that tradition alive have become the more authentic option by default. The original has become the imitation. The environmental and welfare commitments Nando's has made publicly do not withstand close examination. The company has published sustainability targets and welfare improvement roadmaps, but the standard chicken used across the UK estate remains conventional broiler chicken raised at commercial stocking densities. The Better Chicken commitment, a set of welfare standards backed by major animal welfare organisations, has been signed by a number of Nando's competitors. Nando's has not signed it. For a brand that markets itself on the quality and provenance of its chicken, that omission is telling. The chicken is the product. The welfare of that chicken is the most fundamental quality question the brand faces. And Nando's answer, so far, has been a roadmap rather than a commitment, which in practice means a delay rather than a plan. What does Nando's need to do to justify what it is charging? The answer is straightforward, even if the execution is not. Higher welfare chicken as standard, not as a premium option. Transparent food cost disclosure so customers understand what they are paying for. A service model that either returns genuine hospitality or reduces prices to reflect the self-service reality. And a loyalty program that actually rewards the customers who have been coming back for 20 years, rather than one designed primarily to collect data and manufacture engagement. None of those things are impossible. All of them would cost money. And therein lies the real story of Nando's in 2025. A brand that has decided its customers' loyalty is more valuable than their satisfaction, and is drawing down on 30 years of goodwill without any clear plan to replenish it. The rise of Nando's is a genuinely remarkable business story. A small Johannesburg chicken restaurant became a billion-pound British institution through the quality of its product and the authenticity of its culture. The fall is not yet complete, but the trajectory is clear. Every price increase that outpaces inflation, every portion that quietly reduces, every tip prompt on a self-service meal, every welfare commitment that remains a roadmap rather than a reality is a withdrawal from an account that was built by customers who believed they had found something worth believing in. At some point, the account runs dry. Nando's is closer to that point than its marketing would have you believe. And the customers who built this brand deserve to know it. If this investigation changed how you think about where your money is going, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to UK Food Exposed and ring the bell so you never miss when we hold these brands to account. Because 30 years of loyalty deserves honesty in return, and right now, Nando's is not delivering it. Thanks for watching.